What's up guys, it's Ruby Lynn, and today I have a deck profile for you. I won the Boar's Hat Case Tournament event with the one, the only Devil Jin. So I want to take you guys through today my deck list and what I did in order to win this event. So without any further ado, let's get into this deck profile. Okay, getting started, we have the attack package that we had for the tournament. I had 4 Superfly Stomps, but I don't own 4 Superfly Stomps, and I didn't record this while I had the cards borrowed. So we're just using blanks as it here. I will make sure to put something there that shows that this is actually X4. So Devil Jin's whole want of his character is to add attacks from his discard pile to the card pool. This will give you immense damage the more attacks that you put in, as well as we do have some neat features in the attack package that allow us some cool offense and defense. Some of the opening staples of a attack chain would include Attack Titan's Haymaker and Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken. These just represent stun and freeze, and really Vast Hybrid does threaten assets, which we very much would like to happen, just because we don't want our game plan disrupted at all. For damage, we have Titan Armbar. So this is a one of, just because it is a high difficulty move, but its whole plan is just to be added into the card pool with Devil Jin, just to give all our attacks +2 damage, plus whatever we are adding on top of that. Superfly Stomp is a 4 difficulty 3 check, 4 low for 4. In case you didn't know, Frenzy is a blitz that states this attack gets +1 speed and +1 damage for each attack blocked this turn. The undiscovered text I realized of this card. And then we really primarily use this card in order to search our deck for one card and add it to our discard pile. Superfly Stomp finds our camouflage counters, our aerial goblin bolts, our Titan armbars. Those are our 3 primary targets. Preferably more camouflage counter and Titan armbar, as those have more offensive power towards our kill line versus an aerial goblin bolt, which is more defense. Aerial goblin bolt lets us seal a rival foundation, and it has the defensive opportunity that if they play an enhancer blitz, we get to cancel it. Pre-errata Devil Jin was allowed to add this in on his opponent's turn, making his opponent's character blank, because I could just choose whenever to add these in, and it created kind of an unfair game state of not allowing them to use their character. But this attack is really good. It's a low difficulty, low stat move that just brings a lot of power along with it, and it's one of the biggest staples, I think, in this deck. The biggest, though, is Camouflage Counter. Camouflage Counter is a 2 low 4. It has stun 1. The best part about this card is it says response card pool. After another attack deals damage, add this card to the top of your deck. Your next check to play a card gets +1. So adding these in with Devil Jin, they are now in the card pool, and if we deal any amount of damage, we can add any and all camouflage counters in our card pool to the top of our deck, allowing us +1 for each one added on top, allowing us to further our string along further. And then finally, the one, the only, the greatest, teaming with the Attack Titan. This attack gets -2 difficulty for each attack that's in your card pool. It does have to have a minimum 1 difficulty, though. If I do have 20 or more cards in my discard pile, I can change the zone, but we are already changing zones with Devil Jin, as every time we add an attack into our card pool, we are allowed to change it to the zone of the added attack. Putting all of these together really creates a really aggro, really offensive attack package, which is really supported by our assets, our actions, and our foundations, which we will get into right now. Okay, let's get into the foundations. These foundations are pretty self-explanatory, but I really want to go into the flavor and sauce of certain foundations that really add to Devil Jin. So first, let's get into killing the old ways. This has a first form of flip, commit 1 rival foundation. If we don't get Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken, this allows us to commit any defense cards they have that would interrupt our attack string. Moment of Normalcy is a one of in this deck. for the reason that it is just a little bit of defense on our end. We don't want to add too much defense into our deck because we are really trying to go for turn 2, turn 3 kills. It allows us to return attack to printed speed or damage. This could be really cool if you get hit with a barrier shield, which reduces your speed to 0. Or if they try and put your damage to 0, this will allow you to actually reset your own attack, because it does say return this attack. Really good on your opponent's turn as well. So it has a bit of an offense and defense little thing that it is able to do. Then we have capture the target. It has enhanced once per turn tenacious, which means playable while committed. If you have 3 or more attacks in your card pool, ready this foundation. So typically by attack 2 or attack 1, 2, we do have 2 to 3 attacks in our card pool previously. So once we do hit that 3 number, we are able to ready these, allowing us to continue our attack string further and further along, as these just go ahead and ready themselves pretty easily with Devil Jin. Inspiring Song, it is Enhanced Flip Mill 3. Choose a player. That player's next check gets +1/-1. This one is really good. If you don't have a lot of attacks in your discard pile, this one will allow you to mill some attacks into your discard pile potentially, and either make sure that you can check on your next attack, or make sure your opponent can't block. In either or, in defense standing, make sure they can't pass their own attack, or make sure that you can pass your block. Tough Skin is just an enhanced flip. This attack gets -1 damage, trying to negate as much damage as we can. We needed a low difficulty foundation in this package, so in order to do so, we did pick one that was had text on it that would somewhat benefit us. So this one is honestly the best choice here. Just that -1 damage can really come in handy in some games. Next up, we have Dream About Fighting. This is a TMNT card that says Form. Flip, remove the top card of your deck. If it is an attack, you may try to play it this turn. So for this one's really cool with Camouflage Counter. Once you add Camouflage Counter to the top of your deck after damage is dealt, you can go ahead and form, and you can remove it from the top of your deck, and you can play it as an attack rather than checking it. So that way you do have that +1 to your check, and hopefully you do check a foundation and you don't need to commit anything, or use Devil Jin's response. Then we have Horrifying Realization. This is a form flip. Each player discards 1 card and draws a card. If your rival discards a foundation, this way they commit a foundation. This just gives us a little bit more oomph on making sure that we can kind of finagle with our opponent's hand, and this allows us to draw those camouflage counters off the top of our deck, really allowing us to continue our string while having pluses to our check alongside that. Same thing goes for long range support. This one is a response once per turn. After an attack deals damage to a character, I could draw a card and then discard a card. This allows me the same instance of, hey, I just put this camouflage counter back on top of my deck. I have +1 in my check, but I want to play that camouflage counter. So I'm going to go ahead and add that back to my hand and discard a card I don't need in my hand. And finally, we have the beautiful Exam Strategy. This says Enhance Destroy. This attack gets +1 speed and +1 damage for each attack in your card pool. This card is the saving grace of this deck. I think this really pushes the limits with Devil Jin, more than what we're going to go into in just a moment. This allows us, once we're 6 or 7 attacks in our card pool, not even that we played that many, but we do have 6 or 7 attacks in our card pool. This allows us +6, +6, or +7, +7, however many you have. It's a really, really good offense for Devil Jin, as he does not have a lot of speed pump, as we've noticed in the attack package and the foundation package so far. And this allows him to just kind of take it over the top. Your opponents can only block for so long, and we have multiple ways to keep replaying attacks while only being a 5-hander. And with that, I do want to get into, we do have some assets, and we do have an action card that I do want to get into that really spice up this deck from what it was previously. Let me go ahead and pull that up. All right, let's get into the new bread and butter of this deck. Of course, with Attack on Titan Apocalypse, we did receive Military Airship, allowing us to add a card from our card pool to our hand, which this does allow us to continue our attack string, allowing us the ability to pick up teamings, letting us pick up aerial goblin bolts, any attack that we feel is going to be beneficial to continue our attack string and really get our opponent 2-0 on attack on turn 2 to 3. Mimicry is a really fun foundation. It lets us choose one non-unique foundation in our discard pile. And until the beginning of the next turn, this asset gains all abilities and keywords on the chosen foundation. One of my favorite ones to choose for this is Exam Strategy. It does break Mimicry because it does pay the cost to destroy, but it allows us another copy of Exam Strategy to allow us to pump our attack even further. The USS Cerritos NCC 75567. This is a 6 difficulty asset, and this one is really neat. I didn't use it quite a lot when I played, but I do see its purpose and need in this deck. This one states, form once per turn, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add one of them to your hand, one to the bottom of your deck, and one to the top of your deck. And for this, you could go ahead and, if you really want to check an attack next turn, to use Devil Jin's Response, which I have, if I haven't said already, is once per turn after you check an attack, add it to the card pool and draw a card. Your check gets +1 for each attack in your card pool. Or we can add another attack into our hand, and making sure that we pass our check, either making sure there's a 5 or a 6 on top, and throwing whatever we don't need on the bottom, whether that be any assets or actions, just whatever we're feeling. This allows us to also pick up the camouflage counters in order to play those, or stack whatever we need in order to continue our string the way that we are purposely setting it up. And this card is really cool. I didn't use it as much because I found a little bit different synergy in the deck than this, but it's a really cool, neat trick. Now, to the absolute bread and butter of the deck. Once again, I had to borrow some cards, so we do have 2 replacements on Equipment Heist and 1 replacement here on Massive Mutant Machine. Let's get into Equipment Heist. This is a 5 difficulty, 6 check action. It does not count towards progressive difficulty. It has a first form, which allows us to draw a card and discard a card. This allows us to kind of finagle our hand, make sure that we have the appropriate string that we are wanting. As a 5-hander, you can struggle to find enough attacks in the deck, and making sure that you have enough that you are able to do your turn, do your kill string. Just because 5-handers have such a problem with drawing enough attacks because they're only drawing 5 per turn. And then the most important part of this card is the enhanced card pool your turn. If you have 3 or more attacks in your card pool, search your deck or discard pile for 1 asset and build it. And this allows us to build in any of these assets that you see, but the one specifically that we really want to build in is Massive Mutant Machine. This is a 7 difficulty 5 check. It has Deflect 3 on it, and it has Enhanced Commit. This attack gets +5 speed and +5 damage. Wow. As if Devil Jin wasn't outputting enough damage already, now we have even more stats onto our attacks. Using these along with an exam strategy to really push your attack over the edge is what's making this Devil Jin list super, super intense and super, super viable against all these meta decks at the moment. In my experience with playing this deck, I really did have to be careful around Godzilla. It was really who could find the damage fastest. And on an attack string, Devil Jin is easily able to find 34 if we do get Equipment Heist out, because we are able to pull these Massive Mutant Machines and pump up the stats, make sure our checks are good with our inspiring songs or our camouflage counters, and then finish it over the top with an exam strategy, just slamming them at the end after they blocked for, I think the last one I did was 27 damage. So this strategy is really, really intense and really, really strong. And I think Devil Jin does a really good job with it. I know there are other characters that really thrive and use this technique as well, but I really enjoyed using Devil Jin and his abilities really get this going off fast and really get this going on hard and intense, and it's really hard for your opponent to counter on only turn 2 or 3. And finally, let's get into the sideboard. If your opponent knows what Massive Mutant Machine is and they know exactly what you're up to with this deck, we're going to play Devil Jin the old-fashioned way, game 2 in that, if they are able to get to us. Making sure that we have these runaways for these decks that are outputting such massive, disrespectful damage like we are. Letting us make sure that we're only taking the printed damage. If, for example, Godzilla's throwing stats on stats on stats on things, and we don't want to take all of that. We don't even want to block these attacks. So Runaway is a really good resource here to make sure that we disrupt their card pool, as well as prevent as much damage that we are able to. Cape of No Return allows us, with our equipment heist, to, if we are in the situation that we know we're not going to get to that kill string, that it's going to take another turn, it allows us to build it in and kind of disrupt their game plan as well, removing attacks from the game. That way they lost everything they worked on that attack, and you're able to play a game of poker with them there. And then Radiant Visage, this has Enhanced Flip Mill 3, your rival spends a momentum, allows us again to add more attacks to our discard pile, as well as characters that are really thriving off momentum. It really punishes them for it. Getting rid of their momentum is huge and very big advantage for Devil Jin. Because my version of Devil Jin does not run very much momentum, as we do want all of our attacks in our discard pile to continue adding back into our card pool. Another moment of normalcy, just in case we are running into these issues, let's say into a pony that has Genghis Frog, a Wrath that has Genghis Frog, just these really big power output decks, allowing us to reset it either to be blockable or to take as little damage as necessary. And then finally, Incredible Display. This one allows us to cancel some non-character responsibilities, and once we block with a foundation, we are able to add it to our hand. But that is the deck list. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. I want to give credit where credit is due. I did not create this list. Wub created this list, and I am a great pilot, and I took it to the Boar's Head event, and I dominated the competition. So, want to give a huge shout out to Wub, one of the most brilliant deck builders in this game. Obviously so, because I have the coolest Devil Jin list ever. But thank you guys so much for watching. I do truly appreciate your support. And please leave a comment on how you feel about this Massive Mutant Machine meta that we are kind of leaning into. I'm really excited to hear your thoughts, opinions, and feelings. But without anything else, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.